It's a common practice for the government to acquire lands from private owners for the development of infrastructure across the country. Many persons may wonder how the determination is made as to which lands are acquired. Chief Executive Officer of the National Land Agency, Elizabeth Stair, tells us.
Well, it depends on the projects that are being carried out. So, for example, if we're doing roadworks and we have to acquire pieces of land or parcels of land, then that is the first determinant. What project is the government requiring us to acquire lands for? The law speaks about public purposes. So anything that would fall within the ambit of what's a public purpose, a school, an airport, anything like that, would be acquired.
So how are people notified that the government may have an intention to acquire their lands? And what should landowners do when they are notified?
Well, the law requires, the Land Acquisition Act requires that we serve certain notices to inform the public. So the first notice that we would serve is a Section 3 notice, which says we are thinking of acquiring lands in this area. So that's the first notification to them. Well, the Section 3 requires you to go onto the land and do certain investigations and inspections. So you might go on the land and realize that it is not suitable for the purpose. So, for example, if you're running a road through an area and the soils are not quite suitable, then you might have to shift the line. So those are the reasons for the Section 3, that it's for a chance for us to go in and decide if we really want to acquire these parcels.
And the landowner say, no, you can't come on my land and take your test.
No, they can't. The law allows the government to go onto the land, carry out the certain works, and once we decide that we're going to definitely acquire the land, we serve what is called a Section 5 notice. No, they cannot object. Well, they can object, but the law allows us to proceed.
A private citizen whose land is the subject of compulsory acquisition has the right to an independent valuation of his property. However, Mrs. Stair points out that the government award for lands is generally in keeping with market value. She says that if no agreement can be reached through private treaty negotiations, then the agency has a legal right to proceed anyway.
Then we proceed to the terms of the Act, which speaks to, there's Section 9, where we serve a notice and we say to the person, appear before the Commissioner of Lands and state your reasons. One of the reasons could be that I don't agree with the price you're offering. One of the reasons is that, what else could there be? I don't want to sell. They can't say anything, basically. And when they come to the hearing, then we determine what will happen. The commissioner will either agree to the value they're proposing, disagree, and then we move on to the compulsory part of the law, where we go into possession of the land.
Director of Corporate Legal Services at the NLA, Loy Edwards-Byrne, says the agency has dealt with cases where persons have objected to the government's plans to acquire their lands.
Yes, we have had some matters that have been set down in court that have been assessed by the courts. In fact, I think we had a recent one. The court's assessment, though, was more in keeping with the commissioner's award than the claim that was being made by the landowner. But we have had instances. Yes, it is. For the last couple of ones that we have had, that is in fact the situation. It's interesting though, what the Act says is that your claim, whatever you claim, the landowner claims, what the court will assess is an amount not in excess of your claim, but it can be more than what the commissioner has awarded. If you have not made a claim and just asked for the matter to be set down in court, though, the court can assess an amount less than what the commissioner has valued. So it's always important for the landowners, if they want the matter to be assessed by the court, to ensure that they make a claim as to what they consider to be the market value of the property.
Meanwhile, Mrs. Stair says the length of the acquisition process varies depending on several different factors. However, She is assuring landowners that any changes which are needed to their titles due to partial land acquisition will be undertaken by the government.
We ensure that the boundaries are put back in place basically, and that the surveys to cut off of your title, we do all that legal work.